The gunshot shattered the crystal chandelier above Jin-woo's head. He didn't flinch. Around the polished mahogany table, 5 men in expensive suits froze, hands hovering near their weapons. Jin-woo Park raised one hand slowly, and the room exhaled. This was his territory, his mansion, his rules. The man who'd fired stood trembling, realizing his mistake too late. "Remove him," Jin-woo said quietly. 2 bodyguards materialized from the shadows, dragging the screaming man away. Jin-woo straightened his tie, his expression carved from ice. Meeting adjourned. "We'll discuss the shipment routes tomorrow when everyone remembers how to behave like civilized people." The remaining men filed out quickly, none daring to meet his eyes. Alone in the vast dining room, Jin-woo allowed himself one moment of exhaustion. His head throbbed. The Choi syndicate was getting bolder, the threats more direct. And his 12-year-old son was upstairs, probably cowering under his blankets after hearing the gunshot. Have you ever felt powerless to protect someone you love? Have you watched fear consume them while you stood helpless? Drop a comment below and tell me how you'd handle Jin-woo's impossible situation. And if you're invested in this story already, smash that like button and subscribe because what happens next will change everything. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Jin-woo climbed the marble staircase, each step heavy with guilt. His wife's portrait watched him from the wall, her gentle smile a constant reminder of everything he'd lost 2 years ago. The car bomb had been meant for him. She died picking up Kang Tae from school. Kang Tae? He knocked softly on his son's door. No answer. Jin-woo entered anyway. The boy was huddled in the corner between his bed and the wall, knees pulled to his chest, eyes wide with terror. Not under the blankets where a child should hide, but wedged into the smallest space possible, as if trying to disappear. "It's over. You're safe." Jin-woo kept his distance. Every time he tried to comfort his son, the boy flinched. Like he was afraid of his own father. Was it them? The men who killed Mom? Kang Tae's voice cracked. "No. Just a business disagreement. Your business gets people killed." The words hit harder than any bullet. Jin-woo had no response that wouldn't be a lie. "Get some sleep. School tomorrow." He closed the door and leaned against it, jaw clenched. His son was right. This life, this legacy he'd built, was a prison. But there was no walking away from the underworld. You either ruled or you died. 3 days later, the new maid arrived. Jin-woo barely glanced at her during the brief introduction. The head of household staff, Mrs. Choi, handled the hiring. All he noticed was that she was tall, black, and carried herself with unusual stillness. Her resume listed 5 years of domestic service with impeccable references, all from families in Seoul's diplomatic quarter. "This is Kate," Mrs. Choi said. "She comes highly recommended. Speaks fluent Korean, English, and Mandarin." Kate bowed respectfully, her dark eyes meeting his for just a second. Something flickered in that glance, an assessment, as if she was measuring him the way he measured threats. Then it was gone, replaced by the demure expression of hired help. "Welcome," Jin-woo said automatically, already turning away. He had a meeting with his accountants about the missing shipment from Busan. "Mrs. Choi will show you around." He forgot about her immediately. Kate moved through the mansion like a ghost for the first week. Jin-woo would catch glimpses of her, always in the background, dusting shelves or arranging flowers. She was efficient and invisible, exactly what he needed in his chaotic world. But she was watching. Always watching. She noticed how Kang Tae flinched at loud noises. How he walked with his shoulders hunched, trying to take up less space. How he picked at his food during the rare dinners when Jin-woo was home, never speaking unless directly addressed. The boy was drowning in fear, and nobody seemed to notice. She also noticed the security gaps. The guard rotation patterns. The blind spots in the camera coverage. The way Jin-woo's men grew complacent during the quiet hours before dawn. This house was a fortress built by people who'd forgotten that the most dangerous attacks come from unexpected angles. On her 8th day, she encountered Kang Tae in the hallway outside his room. It was 2 in the morning. The boy was sweating, tears streaming down his face, struggling to breathe. Kate knelt smoothly to his level. "Panic attack?" He nodded, gasping. "Look at me. Breathe with me. In through your nose, count of 4. Hold. Out through your mouth, count of 6. She demonstrated, her voice calm and steady as a heartbeat. Again. You're safe. Your body is remembering danger that isn't here right now. We're just going to remind it where we actually are. Kang Tae tried to follow her rhythm. His breathing slowly steadied. Nightmare? She asked. The explosion. I see it every night. Mom's car, the fire, his voice broke. I know. I've seen things too. The nightmares don't go away, but you can learn to work with them instead of fighting them. How? Kate smiled slightly. You learn to be stronger than your fear. Not by pretending it doesn't exist, but by acknowledging it and choosing to act anyway. Your mother wouldn't want you living like this, paralyzed by what happened. You didn't know my mother. No. But I know what it's like to lose someone and let the fear of losing more people control your entire life. It's not living. It's just existing. Kang Tae studied her face, seeing something there that resonated. Can you teach me? To be stronger? Kate hesitated. This wasn't her place. She was here to hide, to disappear into the background until her past stopped hunting her. Getting involved meant risk. But the boy's desperate hope decided it for her. Tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. Meet me in the back garden. Tell no one. His eyes widened. Why secret? Because your father hired me to clean his house, not train his son. If he knew, he'd fire me. And something tells me you need this. Kang Tae nodded slowly. For the first time in 2 years, something besides fear flickered in his expression. It looked almost like hope. The back garden stretched behind the mansion like a private sanctuary, bordered by high stone walls and ancient pine trees. At 5 a.m, mist clung to the manicured grass, and the world felt suspended between night and day. Kang Tae arrived exactly on time, wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie, his hair sticking up in different directions. Kate was already there, dressed in simple black athletic wear. She'd been awake for an hour, moving through forms that her body remembered even after 5 years away from active duty. Old habits died hard. You came, she said, genuine surprise in her voice. I never sleep past 4 anyway. Kang Tae's admission was matter of fact, but the exhaustion in his young face told the real story. The nightmares always wake me up. Then we'll use that time. First lesson, your body holds trauma. Every time you flinch, every time your chest tightens, that's your nervous system remembering danger. We're going to teach it new memories. Better ones. Like what? Like the memory of being strong. Capable. Ready. Kate gestured for him to stand beside her. We start simple. Breathing and stance. Everything else builds from this foundation. For 30 minutes, they worked on nothing but breath control and basic positioning. Kate was patient, adjusting his posture with gentle corrections, explaining how proper breathing could lower his heart rate, how a solid stance made him literally harder to knock down, both physically and emotionally. This is boring, Kang Tae complained, but he didn't stop. Boring keeps you alive. Flashy gets you killed. Kate moved into a ready position. The goal isn't to make you a fighter. It's to make you confident. There's a difference. A fighter looks for conflict. A confident person doesn't need to because they know they can handle whatever comes. My father's a fighter. Is he happy? The question landed like a punch. Kang Tae had never considered it. His father was powerful, feared, untouchable. But happy? He couldn't remember the last time he'd seen Jin-woo smile. He's trying to protect me by keeping me weak, Kang Tae said quietly. He thinks if I'm not involved, I'm safe. He's protecting himself from losing you the way he lost your mother. It's not about you being weak. It's about his fear. Kate adjusted his elbow position. But fear-based protection isn't real protection. It's just control dressed up as love. They trained until 6:30, when the household staff began stirring. Kang Tae was sweating, trembling with exertion, but standing straighter than Kate had ever seen him. Same time tomorrow, she said. And Kang Tae? If anyone asks why you're up early, tell them you're jogging. Not a lie, just incomplete truth. He grinned, the expression transforming his face. Incomplete truth. I like that. The secret training continued for 2 weeks. Every morning at 5, they met in the garden. Kate introduced basic defensive movements, teaching him how to break grabs, how to use an attacker's momentum against them, how to create distance and escape. But more importantly, she taught him awareness. How to read a room, spot exits, identify threats before they materialized. You're not training to fight your father's enemies, she explained during their 2nd week. You're training so that you never feel helpless again. There's power in knowing you have options. Kang Tae absorbed everything like a sponge. His nightmares didn't stop, but he started sleeping past 4:30. At breakfast, Jin-woo's men noticed the boy sitting differently, meeting their eyes instead of staring at his plate. Mrs. Choi commented that he seemed healthier, less withdrawn. Jin-woo noticed too, though he said nothing. His son was changing, and he didn't know why. It unsettled him. On the 15th day of training, Kate escalated the difficulty. She taught Kang Tae a disarming technique, something more advanced than their usual defensive drills. Someone grabs your wrist like this, she demonstrated, her grip firm on his arm. Most people try to pull away. Wrong move. You step in, rotate here, apply pressure to the thumb, it's the weakest point, and suddenly you're free and they're off balance. Kang Tae tried it 3 times, fumbling the rotation. On the 4th attempt, something clicked. He executed the move perfectly, and Kate actually stumbled back a step. Yes. Exactly like that. She was grinning, pride evident in her voice. Again. Faster. In a real situation, you won't have time to think. Your body needs to remember. They drilled the technique 20 more times. Kang Tae's movements became fluid, confident. He was panting but energized, alive in a way he hadn't been since before his mother's death. I feel different, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Like I'm not scared all the time anymore. You're still scared. You're just learning that scared doesn't mean helpless. Kate handed him a water bottle. Fear is information. It tells you to pay attention. The problem is when it paralyzes you instead of preparing you. Is that what happened to you? Something paralyzed you? Kate's expression shuddered. We're not talking about me. But you said you lost someone. That you know what it's like. I did. I do. And I ran from it for 5 years instead of dealing with it. Don't be like me, Kang Tae. You're already braver than I was at your age. Hell, braver than I am now. You don't seem scared of anything. I'm terrified every single day. I'm just better at hiding it. She checked her watch. We need to wrap up. Your father will be having breakfast soon. Neither of them noticed Jin-woo standing at the second-floor window, his morning coffee forgotten in his hand. He'd woken early from a nightmare of his own, something he'd never admit to anyone. Walking to the window to watch the sunrise, he'd glance down at the garden expecting to see the usual emptiness. Instead, he saw his son and the new maid engaged in what looked unmistakably like combat training. Jin-woo's first instinct was fury. How dare she? Who did she think she was? But he didn't move. He stood frozen, watching as Kate demonstrated a defensive technique with precision that spoke of professional training. Military training. His son, the boy who jumped at shadows, was executing the move with determination Jin-woo hadn't seen in years. Again, Kate's voice drifted up through the open window. Faster. Your life might depend on it someday. That phrase hit Jin-woo like ice water. Your life might depend on it. She knew. Somehow, this maid he'd barely spoken to understood the danger his son lived in better than he'd admitted to himself. He watched for 10 more minutes as they moved through forms, Kate correcting Kang Tae's posture with the ease of an experienced instructor. His son was focused, powerful, completely unlike the frightened child who hid in corners during business meetings. Jin-woo set down his coffee and headed for the garden. His footsteps on the stone path were deliberately loud. Kate and Kang Tae both turned, and the transformation on his son's face from confidence to guilty fear made something crack in Jin-woo's chest. What the hell is going on here? Kang Tae's face went pale. Dad, I can explain. Go inside. Jin-woo's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. Now. But. Now, Kang Tae. The boy looked at Kate, betrayal and fear warring in his expression, then ran toward the house. Jin-woo waited until the door closed before turning his full attention to Kate. She stood her ground, chin up, meeting his gaze without flinching. You were hired to clean. Not to fill my son's head with ideas that could get him killed. With all due respect, Mr. Park, your son is already living in danger. Pretending otherwise doesn't protect him. It just leaves him defenseless. Jin-woo stepped closer, using his height to intimidate. Most people crumbled under his stare. Kate didn't move. You know nothing about my son or what he needs. I know he has panic attacks at 2 in the morning. I know he barely eats. I know he's so terrified of his own shadow that he can't function. And I know you're too buried in your own guilt to see that sheltering him is destroying him. The words hit like physical blows. Jin-woo's jaw clenched. You're fired. Pack your things and leave within the hour. Fine. Kate's voice was calm, almost resigned. But firing me doesn't change the truth. Kang Tae needed someone to see him as more than a victim, and you were too afraid to be that person. So I was. She walked past him toward the house. Jin-woo grabbed her arm, spinning her back around. Who are you? Really? Maids don't move like that. They don't teach military-grade defensive techniques. Kate's eyes hardened. Someone who knows what it's like to lose everything and have to become something else to survive. Someone who recognized the same thing happening to your son. You want to fire me? Go ahead. But at least I tried to help him. What have you done besides lock him in a golden cage and hope the monsters don't find him? She pulled free and walked away, leaving Jin-woo standing alone in the garden, his hands shaking with rage and something that felt uncomfortably like shame. If you were Jin-woo, would you let pride destroy the one chance your son has at healing? Would you fire the person who finally broke through to him? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you're feeling this tension, and subscribe because this confrontation is about to explode in ways you won't believe. Jin-woo didn't follow her immediately. He stood in the garden, staring at the spot where his son had been training. The grass was trampled, evidence of repeated practice sessions. How long had this been going on? How had he missed it? He thought about Kang Tae's face during their training. The focus. The determination. The absence of fear. When was the last time he'd seen his son look like that? Before the bombing, maybe. Before their world shattered. Jin-woo pulled out his phone and made a call. I need a background check. Deep dive. Kate Johnson, current employee. I want to know everything, including the things she's hiding. 1 hour. Inside the mansion, Kate was in her small room, methodically packing her few belongings. She'd known this was coming. Getting involved always led to exposure, and exposure meant running again. She'd been stupid to think she could stay, could make a difference, could have something resembling a normal life. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door to find Kang Tae, tears streaming down his face. Please don't go, he whispered. I'll tell him it was my idea. I'll tell him I begged you. Please. Kate knelt to his level, her heart breaking. Kang Tae, this isn't your fault. Your father is trying to protect you the only way he knows how. By keeping me weak? By making sure I can't defend myself? His voice rose, anger breaking through the tears. You were right. He's so afraid of losing me that he's making sure I can never survive without him. That's not protection. That's prison. He loves you. He's just traumatized, like you are. People don't always make good decisions when they're scared. Then help him. You helped me. You can help him too. I don't think he wants my help, kiddo. Kate stood, zipping her bag. But you remember everything I taught you, okay? The breathing, the awareness, all of it. That's yours now. No one can take it away. Kang Tae grabbed her hand. What if I need you? What if I can't do it alone? You were never doing it alone. You found the strength yourself. I just showed you where to look. She squeezed his hand. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be strong. She left him standing in the hallway and headed for the main entrance. Jin-woo was waiting there, his phone in his hand, his expression unreadable. Before you go, he said quietly, I want answers. My people are running your background right now, and I suspect they're going to find some interesting gaps. So tell me yourself. Who are you? Kate considered lying. Considered running. But something in his eyes, a desperation that mirrored his son's, made her pause. I was U.S. Army Special Forces. 12 years of service. I testified against some very powerful, very corrupt people in the Defense Department. They didn't appreciate that. So I disappeared. Changed my name, changed my life, and tried to become invisible. She met his gaze steadily. I came to Korea because it's far from my old life. I took this job because I needed to disappear, and rich families don't ask too many questions if the references check out. I never planned to get involved with Kang Tae. But then I saw him drowning, and I couldn't just watch. Jin-woo was silent for a long moment. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, reading the preliminary report, then back at Kate. You're running from the CIA. From the people they protect, yes. And you brought that danger here. Into my home. Near my son. No one knows where I am. I've been careful. Careful. Jin-woo laughed bitterly. You've been teaching my son to fight in my own garden. That's not careful. That's reckless. What's reckless is raising a boy in your world without giving him any way to defend himself. You think ignorance protects him? It makes him a target. An easy one. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Kate interrupted. You lost your wife. You're terrified of losing your son. So you're keeping him close, keeping him soft, hoping that if he's not a threat to anyone, no one will see him as a target. But that's not how this works, and you know it. Your enemies will come for him anyway, and when they do, he'll be helpless. Is that what you want? To find him the way you found your wife? The color drained from Jin-woo's face. Get out. Gladly. Kate picked up her bag and walked to the door. Kate's hand was on the doorknob when Jin-woo spoke again, his voice barely above a whisper. Wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. How long? He asked. How long were you training him? 2 weeks. Every morning at 5. And in 2 weeks, you did what I couldn't do in 2 years. You gave him hope. Jin-woo's voice cracked. I've watched my son disappear into his fear, and I had no idea how to bring him back. I thought keeping him away from my world would save him. But you're right. I was just making him more vulnerable. Kate finally turned. Jin-woo's mask had crumbled. He looked exhausted, older than his 45 years, carrying the weight of impossible choices. Mr. Park. Jin-woo. If we're going to have this conversation, use my name. Jin-woo, she corrected, Kang Tae doesn't need a fighter for a father. He needs someone who believes he can be strong. Right now, you're treating him like he's already broken. He feels that. He is broken. We both are. After the bombing, Jin-woo's hands clenched. I found pieces of the car 3 blocks away. The explosion was meant for me. She died because someone wanted to hurt me. And every day, I look at Kang Tae and see another target, another person I love that they can use to destroy me. So you pulled him out of school, isolated him, turned this mansion into a fortress. And in the process, you turned him into exactly what you feared. A victim. The truth of it landed like a gut punch. Jin-woo sank into a chair in the foyer, his head in his hands. What am I supposed to do? Send him back out there? Let him live normally and wait for them to take him too? Kate set down her bag and sat across from him. You teach him to survive. Not just physically, but mentally. You give him the tools to recognize danger, to trust his instincts, to protect himself when you can't be there. Because you can't always be there, Jin-woo. No parent can. And the Choi Syndicate knows that. His head snapped up. How do you know about the Choi Syndicate? I pay attention. Your security rotation changed 3 weeks ago. More guards at night, different protocols. Your head of security, Tae-sung, has been conducting perimeter checks every 2 hours instead of every 4. Someone's escalating, and you're preparing for an attack. Kate leaned forward. But you're not preparing Kang Tae. You're just hoping they don't come for him. Hope isn't a strategy. Jin-woo studied her with new appreciation. You see a lot for someone who's supposed to be cleaning floors. Old habits. In my previous life, situational awareness kept me alive. And what happened to end that life? Kate hesitated, then decided honesty might be her only card left to play. I watched my commanding officer sell weapons to insurgents. When I reported it, I learned the corruption went all the way to the top. So they tried to make me disappear. Permanently. I disappeared first, on my own terms. I've been running ever since. For 5 years. 5 years of looking over my shoulder. 5 years of no real connections, no real life. Just survival. She met his eyes. I understand what you're doing with Kang Tae better than you think. I've been doing the same thing to myself. Playing it safe. Staying invisible. And it's not living. It's just a slower death. The words hung between them. Jin-woo's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. Tae-sung reports suspicious vehicles near the south gate. 3rd time this week. He stood, his business mask sliding back into place. I need to handle this. Let me help. Help? You just said you're wanted by the CIA. How does adding your problems to mine help anything? Because I know how to fight. Really fight. And because Kang Tae trusts me. If something happens, if they get through your security, he'll listen to me. Can you say the same? The question was brutal in its honesty. Jin-woo wanted to argue, but he'd seen his son's face in the garden. The focus. The trust. Kang Tae had looked at Kate the way he used to look at his mother. Have you ever had to swallow your pride to protect someone you love? Ever had to admit that someone else might reach them better than you can? Comment below and tell me your story, and smash that subscribe button because Jin-woo's about to make a choice that changes everything. What are you proposing? Jin-woo asked finally. Let me stay. Not as a maid. As Kang Tae's instructor. Teach him properly, not just defensive basics. Tactical awareness, threat assessment, emergency protocols. Make him ready for the world he actually lives in, not the one you wish he could live in. And in return? You protect me. Use your connections to keep my location hidden. If my past comes looking, you make sure it doesn't find me. We help each other. Jin-woo walked to the window, staring out at the garden where his son had been training. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous. Letting a fugitive with military training near his son, trusting her with Kang Tae's safety. But his instincts had been wrong before. They'd told him isolation would keep Kang Tae safe, and instead, it had nearly destroyed him. I have conditions, he said without turning around. Name them. You train him my way. Defensive techniques only. I won't have him thinking violence is the answer to everything. Agreed. I never planned to make him a killer. Just capable. You live here, in the mansion. I want you close if something happens. Fine. And you tell me everything about your past. Every detail. Every person who might come looking. I need to know what threats I'm protecting you from. Kate nodded slowly. That's fair. Jin-woo turned to face her. And one more thing. You teach me too. What? You were right. I've been so focused on protecting Kang Tae that I forgot to connect with him. Maybe if I train with you both, I can learn to be what he needs. Not just a guardian, but a father who believes in him. Kate felt something shift in her chest. This proud, powerful man was asking for help, admitting vulnerability. It took more courage than most people ever showed. Okay, she said. But it won't be easy. I'll push you both. Hard. Good. We need hard. Easy is what got us here. Jin-woo extended his hand. Do we have an agreement? Kate shook his hand firmly. We have an agreement. Then unpack your things. Training starts tomorrow at 5 a.m. All three of us. He headed toward his office, then paused. And Kate? Thank you. For seeing what I was too afraid to see. She watched him go, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She'd broken her own rule. She'd gotten involved. But looking at the portrait of Kang Tae's mother on the wall, seeing the love in the painted eyes, Kate thought maybe some rules were meant to be broken. Upstairs, Kang Tae was pressed against the railing, having heard every word. His father was going to train with them. His father finally understood. He ran to his room, his heart lighter than it had been in 2 years, and for the first time in forever, he thought maybe things could actually get better. He had no idea that 3 blocks away, a man in a black sedan was taking photographs of the mansion, noting the security patterns, marking weak points in the defense. The Choi Syndicate had been patient. But patience was wearing thin. And when they struck, they would strike hard. The next morning, Jin-woo arrived in the garden at exactly 5 a.m. He wore athletic clothes that looked brand new, probably purchased overnight. Kang Tae was already there, bouncing on his toes with nervous energy. Kate stood between them, assessing. Before we start, we need to establish something, Kate said. Out here, there's no boss, no son, no hierarchy. There's only students and teacher. I will push you both beyond what's comfortable. I will call out mistakes without sugarcoating. And you will trust that everything I do is to make you stronger. Can you accept that? Jin-woo nodded stiffly. Kang Tae grinned. Good. We start with basics. Jin-woo, show me your stance. He moved into what he probably thought was a fighting position, feet too close together, weight distributed wrong. Kate circled him like a predator. You're standing like a businessman pretending to be tough. Widen your base. Drop your center of gravity. You're too high, too easy to knock off balance. She demonstrated, her body coiled and ready. Fighting isn't about looking intimidating. It's about physics and leverage. Your son has better form than you do right now. Jin-woo's jaw tightened, but he adjusted his stance. Better. Kang Tae, show your father the disarming technique we worked on yesterday. The boy moved with confidence, executing the wrist grab defense smoothly. Jin-woo's eyes widened watching his son move with such precision. Your turn, Kate said to Jin-woo. Kang Tae, grab his wrist. The boy hesitated. Grab Dad's wrist? Are you a student or not? Kang Tae grabbed his father's wrist. Jin-woo tried the technique and fumbled it completely. Kate stopped him. You're thinking too much. Your brain is 3 steps behind your body. That delay gets you killed. Again. They drilled for 30 minutes. Jin-woo failed repeatedly, frustration building with each mistake. Kang Tae succeeded more often than not, his 2 weeks of practice showing. Finally, Jin-woo executed the move correctly. There, Kate said. That's the feeling you want. Your body knew what to do before your brain caught up. That's muscle memory. That's survival. I'm 45 years old, Jin-woo panted. This is harder than I expected. Age isn't the problem. Ego is. You're used to being the best in the room. Out here, you're a beginner. Accept it. Something in Jin-woo's expression cracked. He started laughing, surprising both Kate and Kang Tae. You're right. I've spent 20 years having people fear me. I forgot what it's like to be challenged. Good. Now that we've broken through that wall, we can actually work. Kate checked her watch. Tomorrow, we add cardio. Right now, both of you would gas out in a real fight within 2 minutes. Conditioning matters as much as technique. Over the next 2 weeks, the 3 of them fell into a rhythm. Every morning at 5, they trained. Kate was relentless, demanding perfection, never accepting excuses. But she was also patient, breaking down complex movements into manageable pieces, celebrating small victories. Jin-woo discovered muscles he'd forgotten existed. More importantly, he discovered his son. Training together, they talked in ways they hadn't in years. Kang Tae would tease his father about his form. Jin-woo would laugh at his own mistakes. The wall between them crumbled, brick by brick. You're getting faster, Kate told Kang Tae during their 3rd week. But speed without control is just flailing. Show me the knife defense again. Slowly. Kang Tae moved through the technique. Kate nodded approvingly. Jin-woo, your turn. Kang Tae, you're the attacker. They worked through the drill. Father and son, moving in sync, trusting each other. Kate felt something warm in her chest watching them. This was why she'd broken cover. This moment, this healing, this connection. After training, they'd have breakfast together. Real conversations, not the stilted exchanges from before. Kang Tae would talk about school, about his friends, about wanting to return to normal classes. Jin-woo listened without immediately saying no. You think I'm ready? Kang Tae asked one morning. To go back? Jin-woo looked at Kate. She gave a slight nod. Maybe, he said carefully. But we'd need better security protocols. And you'd need to promise me you'd stay aware, trust your instincts if something feels wrong. I promise, Dad. Kate taught me how to read a room, spot exits, recognize threats. I'm not the same kid who left that school. No, you're not. Jin-woo's voice was thick with emotion. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. But their progress was being watched. In a nondescript office across Seoul, a man named Director Hwang reviewed surveillance footage of the Park mansion. He'd been tracking Jin-woo for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Choi Syndicate paid well for information, and Hwang had expensive tastes. The new security protocols are tight, his assistant reported. But there's a new variable. A woman, African, staying in the mansion. She's training the son. Hwang leaned forward. Training him how? Combat techniques. Professional level. We've identified her as former U.S. Special Forces. She disappeared 5 years ago after testifying against defense contractors. A slow smile spread across Hwang's face. Interesting. So Jin-woo is harboring a fugitive. That's leverage we can use. The CIA would pay well for her location. And if we offer her up to them, Jin-woo loses his son's protector right when he's most vulnerable. Should we contact the Americans? Not yet. Let's wait for the right moment. When Jin-woo feels safe, when he's let his guard down. That's when we strike. Take the woman, terrify the boy, and bring Jin-woo to his knees. The Choi Syndicate wants him broken before they kill him. This gives us the perfect tool. Does knowing danger is coming make it easier or harder to face? Would you rather see the attack coming or be blindsided? Drop your answer in the comments, and if this story has you on edge, hit that like button and subscribe because the next part is going to be intense. 3 days later, Kate was in the mansion's library, researching online security protocols on one of the household computers. She'd convinced Jin-woo to upgrade his digital defenses, arguing that modern attacks came through cyberspace as often as physical force. She was deep in code when she noticed something wrong. A trace program, subtle but present, running in the background of the mansion's network. Someone was monitoring their communications. Kate's blood ran cold. She immediately shut down the computer and went to find Jin-woo. He was in his office, reviewing shipping manifests. "We have a problem," she said, closing the door behind her. "Someone's monitoring your network. Professional-grade surveillance, not some amateur hack." Jin-woo's expression hardened. "How long?" "I don't know. Could be days, could be weeks. But they've been watching. They know your routines, your communications, probably your security protocols. The Choi Syndicate. Maybe. Or someone else. Either way, we need to assume they're planning something." Kate paced the office. "We should increase security, vary the routines, maybe get Kang Tae out of the house for a while." "No. I won't send him away again. That's what started this whole mess. Then we prepare him for what's coming. No more training exercises. We run real scenarios. Breach drills, extraction protocols, everything." Jin-woo nodded slowly. "Do it. Whatever you need." That afternoon, Kate gathered Jin-woo and Kang Tae in the secure room in the basement. It was designed as a panic room, reinforced steel walls, independent air supply, communication equipment. If they come, and they will come, this is where Kang Tae goes. Not his room. Not anywhere else. Here. Kate pointed to the multiple exit routes. "But the panic room is a last resort. Our first priority is recognition and evasion. Kang Tae, what are the signs of an imminent attack?" The boy thought carefully. Unusual activity near the perimeter. Guards acting strange. Communications disruptions. Anyone asking questions they shouldn't. Good. Jin-woo. Vehicles I don't recognize. Changes in vendor schedules. Staff members I don't know. He paused. "Kate, how bad is this going to get?" "I don't know. But I'd rather prepare for the worst and be wrong than assume the best and get caught off guard." They spent the next week running drills. Kate would trigger the alarm at random times, day and night, testing their response times. The first drill, Kang Tae took 4 minutes to reach the panic room. By the 7th drill, he was there in 90 seconds. "Better," Kate said, "but still too slow. In a real attack, you'll have adrenaline, fear, possibly injury affecting your movement. We need you at 60 seconds, even under stress." "How do I get faster?" Kang Tae asked, breathing hard. "By making the path automatic. Your feet should know the way even if your brain shuts down from panic. Tonight, I want you to walk the route 20 times in the dark. Tomorrow morning, we test again." Jin-woo watched these preparations with growing unease. Part of him wanted to believe they were overreacting. The other part, the part that had survived 2 decades in the underworld, knew Kate was right. The quiet periods were always the most dangerous. On the 8th day of drills, Tae-sung, Jin-woo's head of security, requested an urgent meeting. "We caught someone trying to breach the north wall last night," Tae-sung reported. Young guy, probably early 20s. He had professional climbing equipment, communication gear, and this. He placed a photograph on Jin-woo's desk. It was a picture of Kang Tae, taken through a telephoto lens. Recent, maybe from last week. Someone had been watching his son. Jin-woo's hands clenched into fists. "Where is he now?" "Interrogation room." "He's not talking, but his equipment suggests organized backing. This wasn't some random criminal. This was reconnaissance." Kate studied the photograph. "They're mapping his patterns. Where he goes, when he's vulnerable. This is pre-attack intelligence gathering." "Then we change everything," Jin-woo said. "New routes, new schedules, new security protocols. Tae-sung, I want guards tripled at night. No one in or out without my direct authorization." "Already done." "But sir, we should consider moving Kang Tae to a secure location. If they're actively planning something." "No," Kang Tae's voice came from the doorway. They all turned to see him standing there, his jaw set with determination. "I'm not running. I'm not hiding. Kate taught me to face threats, not run from them." Kang Tae, this is different, Jin-woo started. How? How is it different? You said yourself that isolation made me weak. Now that I'm finally strong enough to stand, you want to lock me away again? The boy's voice rose. I'm not a child who needs to be protected from reality. I live in your world whether I want to or not. At least let me be prepared for it. Kate felt pride swell in her chest. This was the transformation she'd hoped for. Kang Tae wasn't fearless, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the slight tremor in his hands, but he was choosing courage over comfort. He's right, Kate said quietly. Running makes him a moving target with limited protection. Here, we control the environment. We know the terrain. We have advantages. Jin-woo looked between his son and Kate, seeing the united front they presented. When had they become a team that didn't need his permission? Part of him resented it. Part of him was grateful. Fine. We stay. But we do this my way. Full lockdown protocol starting now. Kang Tae, you don't leave the mansion grounds for any reason. Kate, I want you with him at all times when I can't be. Agreed, they said simultaneously. The lockdown began immediately. Jin-woo cancelled all external meetings, conducting business through secure video calls. The mansion became a fortress, guards patrolling in pairs, every entrance monitored, every window alarmed. It felt like living in a pressure cooker, waiting for the explosion. 3 days into the lockdown, Kate was training Kang Tae in the basement gym when the lights flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. She froze, every instinct screaming danger. Kang Tae, panic room. Now. But the drill alarm didn't. This isn't a drill. Go. The boy ran. Kate grabbed her phone, calling Jin-woo. No signal. She tried the intercom system. Dead. Someone had cut communications. This was it. The attack they'd been preparing for. She ran toward Jin-woo's office, her mind cataloging threats and responses. The hallway was empty, too empty. Where were the guards? She rounded a corner and nearly collided with Tae-sung. Kate, we have a breach. South entrance, multiple hostiles, professional equipment. They disabled our communications and backup power. His face was grim. This is coordinated. They knew exactly where to hit us. Where's Jin-woo? Securing the main floor. He sent me to get Kang Tae to the panic room. Already done. He's there. Kate's mind raced. How many attackers? At least 8 that we've spotted. Could be more. 8 trained operatives against Jin-woo's security team. Bad odds, but not impossible. Unless there was something they weren't seeing. It's a distraction, Kate said suddenly. The south entrance breach is too obvious. They want us focused there while the real threat comes from somewhere else. Where? Kate closed her eyes, visualizing the mansion layout, thinking like an attacker. The panic room. They're not trying to get in. They're trying to trap Kang Tae exactly where we told him to go. Her eyes snapped open. It's not a breach. It's a kidnapping. They've been watching us long enough to know our protocols. They knew we'd send Kang Tae to the panic room. That's their target. Tae-sung's face went white. The panic room has independent systems. If they control the access codes, they can seal him in and cut him off from help. Kate was already running back toward the basement. Get Jin-woo. Tell him the panic room is compromised. I'm getting Kang Tae out. She sprinted through the mansion, her special forces training kicking in. Every shadow was a threat. Every sound was analyzed and categorized. She reached the basement stairs and heard voices below. Not Jin-woo's men. Outsiders. Kate pressed against the wall, listening. 2 men, speaking in low tones near the panic room entrance. Boss says wait for the signal. Once the kid's sealed in, we extract him through the basement tunnel. The father will never know until it's too late. A basement tunnel. Of course. Every mansion this old had hidden passages, and someone had given these attackers a blueprint. This wasn't just an attack. This was an inside job. Kate evaluated her options. 2 armed men between her and Kang Tae. No weapon except her training. Not ideal odds, but she'd faced worse in Afghanistan. She stepped into the hallway, hands visible, posture non-threatening. Excuse me, I think I'm lost. Can you help me find the kitchen? Both men spun toward her, hands reaching for weapons. Kate didn't give them time. She closed the distance in 3 strides, her movement explosive. The first man's gun was halfway out of his holster when her elbow connected with his throat. He went down choking. The second man was faster, weapon clear, finger on the trigger. Kate grabbed his wrist and twisted, using his momentum to slam him face first into the concrete wall. He dropped, unconscious. The whole encounter took 8 seconds. Kate grabbed one of their weapons, checked the magazine, then rushed to the panic room door. Kang Tae. It's Kate. Don't let anyone else in. Kate. His voice came through the intercom, small and scared. What's happening? Change of plans. The panic room is compromised. I need you to come with me. Right now. But Dad said. Your dad didn't know they had inside information. We need to move. Trust me. A pause, then the door opened. Kang Tae stood there, his face pale but his stance solid, ready. Kate felt a surge of pride. 3 weeks ago, he would have been paralyzed with fear. Now, he was functioning under pressure. Stay behind me. Stay low. If I say run, you run and don't look back. Understand? He nodded. They moved through the basement, Kate leading, weapon ready, Kang Tae following her shadow. They reached the stairs when gunfire erupted above them. Not the controlled shooting of Jin-woo's security team. The sustained automatic fire of people who didn't care about collateral damage. If you had to choose between following the plan that might be compromised or trusting your instincts in the moment, what would you do? Drop your answer below, hit that like button if your heart is racing, and subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind. They're escalating, Kate muttered. They're not trying to be subtle anymore. A figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Not one of the attackers. Jin-woo, blood on his shirt, fury in his eyes. Kate. Get him out of here. The tunnel, she called back. They know about the tunnel. There's a leak in your organization. Jin-woo's expression darkened. Then we don't use the tunnel. Follow me. I know another way. Jin-woo led them through a section of the mansion Kate had never seen. Behind a bookshelf in his private study was a narrow passage, barely wide enough for one person. He pulled it open, revealing darkness beyond. My grandfather built this during the war. Only family knows about it. Not even Tae-sung. He handed Kate a flashlight. It leads to a safe house 3 blocks away. Get Kang Tae there and wait for my signal. What about you? Kang Tae grabbed his father's arm. You're coming with us. I need to end this. They came into my home, threatened my son. I can't let that stand. Jin-woo cupped his son's face with both hands. I will come back to you. I promise. But right now, I need to know you're safe so I can do what needs to be done. Dad. Be brave. Like your mother was brave. Like Kate taught you to be. He looked at Kate. Protect him with your life. You know I will. Jin-woo kissed his son's forehead, then pushed them into the passage and closed the panel behind them. The darkness was absolute. Kate clicked on the flashlight, illuminating rough stone walls and a narrow corridor stretching ahead. Stay close, she whispered. Watch your step. They moved quickly but carefully through the passage. Kate's mind was racing. Inside job meant someone in Jin-woo's organization had betrayed him. Someone with access to security protocols, building layouts, maybe even the panic room codes. That level of betrayal didn't come cheap. Whoever was behind this had resources and planning. The passage twisted and turned, occasionally branching off into side tunnels. Kate marked their path mentally, knowing they might need to find their way back. After what felt like an eternity but was probably only 10 minutes, they reached a metal door. Kate tried the handle. Locked. There should be a key, Kang Tae said, running his hands along the wall. Grandpa always said the key was hidden near the door. His fingers found a loose stone. Behind it, a small compartment with a rusted key. The door opened onto a basement storage room. They climbed stairs into a modest apartment, clearly unused for years based on the dust covering everything. Kate locked the door behind them and moved to the window, checking the street below. 3 blocks away, smoke rose from the direction of the mansion. The sound of sirens cut through the night. Whatever was happening, it had escalated beyond a quiet kidnapping attempt. We need to secure this location, Kate said. Check all the exits, make sure we're alone. Kang Tae moved through the apartment with practiced efficiency, the training taking over. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, all clear. Fire escape accessible from the back bedroom. No signs of forced entry. Good. Now we wait. But waiting was torture. Every minute that passed without word from Jin-woo felt like an hour. Kang Tae paced the small living room, his earlier confidence cracking. He'll be okay, Kate said, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Your father has survived this long by being smart and prepared. But they were inside. Someone he trusted betrayed him. How do you fight that? Kate had no answer. Betrayal was the worst kind of attack because it came from where you felt safest. She knew that better than anyone. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, Kate Johnson. Or should I say Captain Catherine Morrison, formerly of the U.S. Army Special Forces. We need to talk. Her blood turned to ice. No one should know both names. She'd been so careful, so thorough in erasing her past. How had they connected her? Another text, don't worry about Jin-woo. He's occupied. But I thought you'd like to know your old friends from Langley have been looking for you. Turns out there's quite a price on your head. Enough to make tonight's operation very profitable. Kate's hands trembled. They were going to sell her location to the CIA. After 5 years of running, hiding, surviving, they'd found her. And they were using her to get to Jin-woo. What is it? Kang Tae noticed her expression. What's wrong? We need to move. Now. This safe house isn't safe anymore. But Dad said to wait here. Your father didn't know they have my real identity. They're using me to track us. Kate was already moving, grabbing supplies, planning their next move. We go dark. No phones, no digital footprint. Old school evasion. Kate, you're scaring me. She stopped, seeing the fear in his young face. She knelt to his level, gripping his shoulders. Listen to me. Everything I taught you, all the training, all the preparation. It wasn't just exercises. This is real now. I need you to be strong, be smart, and trust me. Can you do that? Kang Tae swallowed hard, then nodded. What do we do? We disappear. And we make them think we ran in the opposite direction. Kate pulled out her phone, typed a quick message to Jin-woo's secure line, compromised. Going to the embassy. Then she removed the battery and crushed the SIM card under her heel. They'll think we're heading for diplomatic protection. We're actually going somewhere they'd never look. Where? Into the heart of their operation. The last place they'd expect us to go. Kate checked the window again. Your father has a business office in Gangnam, right? The one he never uses for actual business? His meeting spot for the shadiest deals. He thinks I don't know about it. That's where we're going. If there's a traitor in his organization, the evidence will be there. Financial records, communication logs, something that tells us who sold him out. And once we know who, we can end this. That's insane. We'll be walking straight into enemy territory. Exactly. They'll be looking for us everywhere except where the danger is. Kate pulled on a dark jacket she found in a closet. Your father taught you the first rule of survival in his world, didn't he? Kang Tae recited it automatically. When everyone expects you to run, stand and fight. When everyone expects you to fight, disappear. Always do the opposite of what they anticipate. Smart man, your father. Now let's prove we learned his lessons. They left the safe house through the fire escape, moving through back alleys and side streets. Kate kept them in shadows, avoiding main roads and security cameras. Her training from years of covert operations kicked in. She was a ghost again, and Kang Tae was learning to move like one too. It took them 40 minutes to reach Gangnam. Jin-woo's office was in a nondescript building, the kind that blended into the urban landscape. Kate picked the lock on the service entrance, and they slipped inside. The office was on the 4th floor. They took the stairs, Kate checking each landing before proceeding. The building was quiet, mostly empty this time of night. Perfect for their purposes, but also perfect for an ambush. The office door was alarmed. Kate studied the system, recognizing the model. Military grade, but she'd disabled dozens of these in her former life. 30 seconds later, they were inside. Start with the computers, Kate instructed. Financial transactions, emails, anything that shows communication with outside parties. I'll check the physical files. They worked quickly, efficiently. Kang Tae had learned enough about his father's business to recognize unusual patterns. Kate was looking for something specific, evidence of contact with intelligence agencies, either Korean or American. Kate. Kang Tae's voice was tight. I found something. She moved to his side. On the screen was an email thread between someone using the codename, Director H, and an account registered to the Choi Syndicate. The emails detailed everything: security rotations, the panic room protocols, even Kate's identity and background. But it was the final email that made Kate's stomach drop. Phase 1 complete. Park Mansion under siege. Phase 2 initiated. CIA will extract the American fugitive within the hour. Phase 3, with Park distracted and his son vulnerable, final termination can proceed. Payment upon confirmation of all targets eliminated. All targets. Not just Jin-woo. Not just Kate. All of them, including Kang Tae. They're going to kill us, Kang Tae whispered. All of us. Not if we kill them first. Kate's voice was steel. She pulled up the email headers, tracing the source. Director H. That's not Choi Syndicate. That's someone in intelligence. Korean or American, someone with access to classified information about both your father and me. Have you ever discovered that the people supposed to protect you are actually hunting you? That the system you trusted is broken? Comment below if you've ever felt that betrayal, smash that like button if you're ready to see Kate fight back, and subscribe because the final confrontation is coming and it's going to be explosive. Kate's phone, the one she'd discarded, suddenly made sense. They'd been tracking her all along, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The attack on the mansion wasn't about kidnapping Kang Tae for ransom. It was about eliminating everyone who knew too much. We need to warn your father, Kang Tae said. We will. But first, we need to survive the next hour. Kate pulled up building schematics on another computer. If the CIA is coming for me, they'll hit this location. They monitored our communication, they know we're here. Then why did we come? Because now we have what they don't. We know who the traitor is. We know the plan. And we know they think we're alone and unprepared. Kate smiled grimly. We're about to teach them a very painful lesson about underestimating desperate people. Kate moved with lethal efficiency, transforming Jin-woo's office into a tactical position. She overturned desks for cover, identified sight lines, mapped every entrance and exit. Kang Tae watched her work, seeing a side of his teacher he'd only glimpsed in training. Download everything, Kate instructed. Every email, every file. We need insurance. Multiple copies on different drives. While Kang Tae worked, Kate found Jin-woo's emergency stash. Every man in his position kept one. Behind a false panel, she discovered 2 handguns, ammunition, cash, and burner phones. She loaded both weapons, checking the mechanisms. Have you ever fired a gun? She asked Kang Tae. Dad took me to a range once. Before Mom died. Remember the basics? Safety on until ready to fire. Aim center mass. Squeeze, don't pull the trigger. Good. I hope you won't need it, but hope isn't a strategy. She handed him the smaller weapon. This is backup. Last resort only. Your job is to survive and get that evidence to your father. My job is to make sure you can do that. The burner phone buzzed. A text from Jin-woo, where are you? Safe house is empty. Respond immediately. Kate typed back, Gangnam office. We have evidence. Traitor is Director H, intelligence connection. CIA en route to extract me. It's a kill operation, not capture. All of us are targets. The response was immediate, get out now. I'm 10 minutes away. Too late. They're already here. Kate had spotted movement in the street below. 3 black vehicles, professional formation, blocking escape routes. We make our stand. Kang Tae, panic room protocols. Secure position, stay low, don't expose yourself unnecessarily. Kate, there's too many. Numbers don't matter if they can't get a clear shot. This office has 1 entrance. They have to come through a fatal funnel to reach us. I've defended worse positions with worse odds. The building's main entrance alarm blared, then went silent. They were inside. Kate positioned herself behind the overturned desk, weapon ready, breathing steady. This was familiar territory. Not comfortable, but familiar. The chaos of combat, where training and instinct took over and everything else faded away. Kang Tae crouched behind filing cabinets, his weapon trembling in his hands. Kate caught his eye and mouthed, breathe. Like I taught you. Control the fear. He nodded, visibly steadying himself. Footsteps in the hallway. Multiple sets, moving with tactical precision. They knew she was here. They knew she was armed. But they also thought she was alone with a terrified child. They were about to learn that 3 weeks of training had created something more dangerous than they anticipated. The door burst open. Flashbang grenade rolled in. Kate had anticipated it, had positioned them behind solid cover with eyes averted. The explosion was deafening, disorienting, but not incapacitating. She returned fire through the doorway, forcing the entry team back. U.S. Marshal Service, a voice shouted. Kate Morrison, you're wanted for treason and theft of classified materials. Surrender now. Kate almost laughed. Marshal Service. They were pretending this was legitimate law enforcement. In reality, these were CIA contractors, the kind who did the dirty work that couldn't be officially sanctioned. I was cleared of those charges, she shouted back. I have documentation proving the corruption went to the director level. You're not here to arrest me, you're here to silence me. Last chance. Come out unarmed. Come in and get me. More gunfire. They were testing her position, mapping her location. Professional tactics, which meant they'd eventually overwhelm her through superior numbers and equipment. She needed to change the dynamic. Kang Tae, she whispered. The fire alarm. Pull it. Now. He crawled to the wall and yanked the alarm. Immediately, sprinklers activated, water cascading from the ceiling. The hallway lights shifted to emergency mode, strobing red. Visibility degraded for everyone, leveling the playing field. The attackers rushed the door, using the chaos as cover. Kate dropped 2 immediately, their bodies blocking the entrance. The others retreated, reassessing. She'd bought them maybe 2 minutes. Building security will respond to the alarm, Kate told Kang Tae. Police will follow. They can't stay long without drawing official attention. We just need to hold until. The window exploded inward. Rope descent, 2 operators rappelling from the roof. Kate spun, firing, hitting one before he touched ground. The second made it in, weapon up, professional and fast. Too fast. Her weapon clicked empty. The operator smiled, moving toward her. Game over, Captain Morrison. Kate's hand moved to her belt. Not for another weapon. For the knife she'd taken from Jin-woo's emergency stash. She threw it in one smooth motion. The blade buried itself in the operator's throat. He went down, choking, weapon clattering away. Game's not over until I say it is, Kate muttered, retrieving his weapon. More footsteps in the hallway. They were regrouping, preparing for a final push. Kate had maybe 30 seconds before they came through that door with everything they had. Then she heard the most beautiful sound in the world, Jin-woo's voice, cold and lethal, echoing from the hallway. You made a mistake coming into my city and attacking my family. Gunfire erupted, but different this time. Not aimed at the office. Aimed at the operators in the hallway. Jin-woo had arrived with his own team, and they weren't following rules of engagement. This was urban warfare, the kind Jin-woo had learned in the streets before he became a boss. The office door opened carefully. Jin-woo stood there, blood splattered but uninjured, fury and relief warring in his expression. Dad. Kang Tae ran to him. Jin-woo caught his son, holding him tight, weapon still in his other hand. His eyes found Kate's. You kept him safe. He kept himself safe. I just taught him how. Kate was suddenly exhausted, adrenaline draining away. We found the traitor. Director Hwang, Korean intelligence. He's been selling information to everyone, Choi Syndicate, CIA, whoever pays. The evidence is downloaded. Hwang. Jin-woo's voice dripped venom. I should have known. He's been circling my operations for years. I thought he was just corrupt. I didn't realize he was ambitious. He wanted you eliminated, your organization destabilized, and me delivered to people who want me dead. 3 birds, 1 operation. Sirens wailed outside, getting closer. Jin-woo moved to the window, assessing. We need to leave. Now. The authorities will sort through this mess, but I don't want us here when they arrive. Too many questions. They moved quickly, Jin-woo's team forming a protective perimeter as they descended the back stairs. The street was chaos, emergency vehicles, frightened civilians, smoke and confusion. Perfect cover for disappearing. Jin-woo had vehicles waiting 2 blocks away. They climbed in, Kang Tae between his father and Kate, finally allowing himself to shake with delayed shock. You did good, Kate told him quietly. Better than good. You stayed calm, followed protocols, made smart decisions under pressure. Your mother would be proud. My mother wouldn't have let it get this far, Kang Tae said, voice breaking. She would have kept me safe without all this violence. Your mother kept you safe with love, Jin-woo said, pulling his son close. Kate kept you safe with training. I kept you safe with power. We all do what we know how to do. But you're going to be better than all of us. You'll know when to use each tool. The vehicle wound through Seoul streets, taking random turns, ensuring they weren't followed. Finally, they arrived at another safe house, this one Jin-woo swore only he knew about. Inside, they collapsed. The adrenaline fully worn off now, leaving them exhausted and shaking. Jin-woo poured 3 glasses of water. They sat in silence for a long moment. Hwang will go to ground, Jin-woo finally said. He knows we have evidence. He'll either run or try to eliminate us before we can use it. We don't wait for him to choose, Kate said. We go public. Release everything. Media, police, international channels. Make it impossible to silence us because too many people will know. That exposes you. Your identity, your location, everything you've been hiding. Kate smiled tiredly. I'm tired of hiding. 5 years of looking over my shoulder, never connecting with anyone, never having a real life. Maybe it's time to stop running and start fighting back properly. They'll come for you. The people you testified against, the ones you exposed. They'll use this to find you. Let them come. This time, I won't be alone. She looked at Jin-woo and Kang Tae. I'll have family backing me up. The word hung in the air. Family. Not employer and employee. Not teacher and student. Family. Jin-woo extended his hand. Partners then. We take down Hwang together, protect each other's backs, and build something better from the ashes of this mess. Kate shook his hand. Partners. Kang Tae put his hand on top of theirs. Family. They sat together as dawn broke over Seoul, planning their next move. The evidence would go public within hours. Hwang would fall. The Choice Syndicate would lose their inside connection. And Kate would finally stop running. The press conference was scheduled for noon. Jin-woo had called in every favor, contacted every journalist he trusted, and ensured maximum coverage. The evidence sat on USB drives, multiple copies distributed to different media outlets. Even if they tried to stop one, the others would get through. Kate stood in front of the mirror in the safe house, barely recognizing herself. For 5 years, she'd hidden, kept her head down, avoided cameras. Now she was about to put her face on every screen in Korea, possibly the world. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her collar. Second thoughts? Jin-woo appeared behind her. Third and fourth thoughts. But I'm done running. They took 5 years of my life. I want them back. It won't be easy. Even with the evidence, powerful people will push back. They'll attack your credibility, dig up every mistake you've ever made, try to destroy you before you can destroy them. I know. But I won't be fighting alone this time. She turned to face him. Thank you. For trusting me with your son. For giving me a reason to stop hiding. Thank you for giving me my son back. The real Kang Tae, not the terrified shadow he was becoming. Jin-woo's expression softened. My wife used to say that family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up when everything falls apart. You showed up, Kate. You're family now, whether you like it or not. Tears pricked her eyes. She'd forgotten what belonging felt like. Kang Tae burst into the room, tablet in hand. It's trending already. Someone leaked that there's going to be a major announcement about government corruption. Social media is going crazy with speculation. Good, Jin-woo said. The more eyes on this, the safer we are. They can't make us disappear if the whole country is watching. They arrived at the press conference venue with security surrounding them. Jin-woo's legitimate business connections had provided the location, a respected law firm's conference room. Dozens of cameras were already set up. Reporters buzzed with anticipation. Kate took her position at the podium, Jin-woo on her right, their lawyer on her left. Kang Tae sat in the front row, visible support. The cameras started rolling. My name is Catherine Morrison, Kate began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 5 years ago, I was a captain in the U.S. Army Special Forces. I witnessed my commanding officer selling military weapons to insurgent groups. When I reported it, I discovered the corruption extended to the highest levels of the Defense Department. I testified, provided evidence, and was told the matter would be investigated. She paused, letting the words sink in. Instead, the people I exposed tried to have me killed. I went into hiding, changed my identity, and tried to disappear. But you can't outrun the truth forever. Recently, those same people found me here in Seoul. They coordinated with corrupt Korean intelligence officials to eliminate me and destroy the family protecting me. This is the evidence of their crimes. The screens behind her lit up with documents, emails, financial records. The reporters leaned forward, cameras flashing, pens scribbling frantically. Director Hwang of Korean intelligence has been selling classified information to criminal organizations and foreign agents. He orchestrated an attack on Jin-woo Park's home, attempting to kidnap his son and murder everyone who could expose him. This was not law enforcement. This was assassination disguised as justice. The room erupted with questions. Kate powered through, laying out everything methodically, professionally. Years of military briefings had taught her how to present information clearly under pressure. When she finished, Jin-woo stepped forward. I am not a saint. My business exists in gray areas. But I am a father first. When someone threatens my son, when they attack my home, I respond. Director Hwang and his associates declared war on my family. Consider this our declaration of war back. We will not be silenced. We will not disappear quietly. And we will see justice done, even if we have to drag it into the light ourselves. The questions came rapid fire. Kate answered each one honestly, holding nothing back. Yes, she'd been in hiding. Yes, she'd changed her identity. Yes, she knew the risks of coming forward. But the alternative was living in fear forever, and she was done with that. The conference lasted 2 hours. By the time they left, the story was already dominating news cycles. Social media exploded with support and outrage in equal measure. Government officials scrambled to distance themselves from Hwang. The CIA issued a terse statement about reviewing the allegations. Back at the safe house, they watched the coverage unfold. Kang Tae sat between Kate and his father, exhausted but relieved. Is it over? He asked quietly. Not yet, Jin-woo said. But we've shifted the battlefield. Now they have to fight us in public, where rules and accountability matter. That's our advantage. Kate's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Captain Morrison. The voice was American, educated, controlled. My name is Senator Patricia Chin. I was on the oversight committee that buried your original testimony. I'm calling to say that was a mistake, and I'm prepared to make it right. Will you testify again, this time with my full support and protection? Kate's breath caught. Why now? Why after 5 years? Because I was a coward then. I let powerful men convince me that sacrificing one soldier was acceptable to maintain stability. I've regretted it every day since. When I saw your press conference, I realized I had a chance to fix my mistake. So I'm asking, will you let me help? Kate looked at Jin-woo and Kang Tae, the family she'd found in the most unexpected place. She thought about the woman she'd been 5 years ago, idealistic and naive. She thought about the woman she'd become, hardened and hidden. And she thought about the woman she wanted to be, someone who fought back. Yes, she said. I'll testify. But this time, I'm not doing it alone. I have people who have my back, and they're part of this fight too. Understood. I'll have my office contact you with arrangements. Captain Morrison, thank you for your courage. Then and now. The call ended. Kate set down the phone and smiled. We've got an ally. A powerful one. Good, Jin-woo said. We'll need all the allies we can get. Hwang won't go down without a fight, and neither will the people protecting him. Let them fight, Kang Tae said, surprising them both. We're ready. We trained for this. All of us. Jin-woo ruffled his son's hair, pride evident in his expression. When did you get so brave? I had a good teacher. Kang Tae looked at Kate. 2 good teachers, actually. One taught me how to fight. The other taught me why fighting matters. 3 weeks later, Kate sat in a congressional hearing room in Washington, D.C., Jin-woo and Kang Tae in the gallery behind her. Senator Chin kept her promise, providing security and support. The hearing was broadcast live, millions watching as Kate laid out her testimony again, this time with evidence that couldn't be dismissed or buried. Director Hwang was arrested in Seoul the same day, his assets frozen, his network dismantled. The Choi Syndicate lost their intelligence connection and fractured under pressure from law enforcement. Jin-woo's organization survived, battered but intact, stronger for having weathered the storm. And Kate finally stopped running. 6 months after that terrible night in the Gangnam office, Kate stood in the back garden of the mansion, watching the sunrise. The same garden where she'd first trained Kang Tae, where everything had started. But now it felt different. It felt like home. Morning, Jin-woo joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Couldn't sleep? Old habit. I'm used to being awake before dawn. We train in 3 hours. You don't need to be up this early. I know. But I like the quiet. Gives me time to think about how far we've come. Jin-woo nodded, understanding in his expression. They'd all come far. Kang Tae was back in school, thriving, confident without being reckless. Jin-woo had started legitimate business ventures, slowly moving away from the underworld. And Kate had finally found something she'd lost 5 years ago, purpose. I got an offer yesterday, Kate said. Private security consulting. Military contract work, all above board and legal. Good money, interesting challenges. Jin-woo's expression tightened. You're leaving. No. I'm asking if you'd mind me taking on occasional contracts while still training Kang Tae. I need to work, to use my skills for something productive. But this, she gestured to the mansion, the garden, the life they'd built, this is home. I'm not walking away from family. Relief flooded his face. Then take the contracts. Build your career. Just come back between jobs. We'll be here. Always? Always. The sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind them, they heard Kang Tae's alarm go off, the boy starting his day. Soon they'd all be in the garden, training together, growing stronger together. Kate smiled, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, peace. 3 years later, Kate stood in the same garden, but this time she wasn't alone. Kang Tae, now 15, was demonstrating techniques to a group of 5 new students, kids from difficult backgrounds who needed what he'd once needed, someone to believe in them. Jin-woo watched from the patio, his legitimate security consulting firm now one of the most respected in Asia. And Kate, no longer running, no longer hiding, finally living the life she'd fought so hard to reclaim. The warrior maid had become something more, a teacher, a sister, a friend. And the broken family she'd found in that mansion had become whole again, stronger for having been shattered and rebuilt. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ended with something better, hope, hard-won and real, forged in fire and sealed with trust. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories. Drop a comment telling me what you thought about Kate's journey from fear to courage. Would you have made the same choices? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.